Behind every arrow that struck fear into enemy knights at Agincourt stood a man, a real person whose life was far more complex than any battlefield legend. We know their bows and arrows, their skill and bravery, but who were these English archers beyond the battlefield? What was daily life like for these ordinary men who became England's deadliest weapon? How did they train, live, and survive in medieval society? What hardships and sacrifices lay behind their legendary victories? In this episode, we'll take you beyond the history books, past the myths and legends, and into the everyday world of an English archer. From rigorous childhood training to harsh living conditions, from the brutal realities of warfare to moments of unexpected reward, their lives were filled with struggle, resilience, and surprising complexity. These men were not merely soldiers, they were husbands, fathers, craftsmen, and farmers. Their stories reveal the gritty reality behind medieval warfare, showing the profound sacrifices required by their families and communities. Join us as we uncover the untold stories of the men behind the longbow, ordinary people whose extraordinary skills and sacrifices shaped the world around them. Becoming an English archer wasn't simply a choice, it was a lifelong journey that began in childhood and shaped an entire community. In medieval England, archery wasn't just encouraged, it was mandated by law. From an early age, boys were expected to pick up a bow and start practicing, developing the strength and skill required to draw powerful longbows. Fathers taught sons, villages organized competitions, and archery fields became central hubs of daily life. This training wasn't casual, it was a serious obligation. Laws such as the Archery Law of 1363 required every able-bodied male to practice archery regularly, particularly on Sundays and holidays. Failure to comply meant severe penalties, from fines to even harsher punishments. But why such intense pressure? Because medieval English society understood clearly, skilled archers were essential to national security. Training young archers became a community investment, ensuring England had an always-ready military force without the expense of maintaining large professional armies. Aspiring archers quickly learned that their bows were not mere toys. They started with lighter bows, gradually progressing to the powerful yew-bows that would dominate battlefields. Strength training was rigorous. Children built immense muscle through repetitive practice, often experiencing injuries and physical strain as they pushed themselves to meet the demanding standards. Yet becoming an archer had its benefits. Skilled archers, though commoners, held unique social status and privileges. Their communities respected them deeply because of the critical role in defense and war. Some archers even received exemptions from certain taxes or obligations, a powerful incentive in an era when life was harsh and opportunities limited. But not everyone could handle the demands. The training was brutally challenging physically and mentally, requiring discipline, focus, and relentless practice. Those who succeeded emerged as strong, resilient individuals capable of enduring the brutal realities of medieval warfare. When war came, these well-trained archers left their villages, marching to battlefields far from home. They brought with them a lifetime of rigorous preparation and community support, transforming simple villages into England's most feared military asset. Yet, despite their battlefield prowess, life as an archer came with immense personal sacrifices. Training consumed their childhoods, war disrupted their families, and returning home often meant confronting the harsh realities of civilian life. Who exactly were these men beyond their bows? How did their daily routines and struggles shape their identities? To truly understand that, we must step inside their homes, fields, and communities, revealing the human cost behind their legendary status. Life as an English archer wasn't easy. Behind the glory of the battlefield victories were the hidden realities of daily struggle, hardship, and sacrifice. Most archers were ordinary men, peasants, farmers, or craftsmen, whose lives revolved around demanding labor and simple routines. An archer's daily existence was marked by relentless toil, working fields, tending animals, or practicing a skilled trade like carpentry or smithing to support their families. The diets were simple and basic, consisting mostly of bread, vegetables, and occasionally meat or fish if they could afford it. Nutrition was essential to maintaining the strength required to use the heavy longbows, yet adequate food was never guaranteed. Many archers faced seasonal shortages, making their rigorous physical training even more challenging. Homes were humble, often small cottages built of wattle and daub with thatched roofs, offering minimal protection from harsh weather. Families lived cramped together, frequently dealing with cold, damp conditions. Disease and injury were constant threats, with limited medical knowledge and treatment available. Beyond the physical hardships were emotional sacrifices. Long campaigns meant extended separations from family, often leaving wives and children to manage farms and homes alone. The uncertainty of returning alive added immense psychological strain, both for the archers themselves and their families left behind. Training never stopped, even during peacetime. Sundays and holidays were filled with mandatory archery practice. Every village had its archery field, and men were expected to regularly demonstrate their proficiency. This constant pressure to perform added yet another burden on top of the daily responsibilities. Injuries from archery practice itself were common. Constantly drawing and holding powerful bows caused chronic pain and joint issues. Shoulder, wrist, and back injuries could permanently disable an archer, stripping him of his livelihood and social standing, plunging families into poverty. Yet, despite their hardships, archers held an unusual level of respect. They were valued as vital community defenders and often granted unique privileges or exemptions from taxes and other burdensome obligations. This social recognition provided small comforts in an otherwise harsh existence. In peacetime, archers still had military obligations. Regular militia service, village defense drills, and maintaining readiness for war were constant reminders of the dual roles as soldiers and civilians. Archers never truly rested. They were always prepared for the call to arms. Their lives were a careful balancing act, managing family, farm, community, and military duty, all while dealing with relentless physical and emotional challenges. It was a life of immense discipline, resilience, and personal sacrifice, sustained only by the deep bonds of family and community. The reality behind the heroic legends was stark. The strength and discipline archers displayed in battle were forged in everyday struggles. Their victories were not merely feats of battlefield prowess but reflections of their extraordinary ability to endure and overcome daily hardships. Yet, when war called, these ordinary men transformed once more, trading homes and fields for battlefields and glory. What awaited them in war, beyond the myths and heroics? To find out, we must journey alongside them into the brutal realities of medieval warfare. When war called, English archers left their homes and families behind, stepping into a brutal, uncertain world far from the safety of their villages. Their battlefield experiences were harsh, terrifying, and often life-changing. Military campaigns began with long, grueling marches, frequently spanning hundreds of miles across unfamiliar terrain. Archers endured blistering heat, freezing cold, and relentless rain, often with minimal shelter or provisions. Many succumbed to disease or exhaustion even before reaching the battlefield. But those who arrived faced even greater trials. Battles weren't glamorous. They were chaotic, violent, and terrifying. Archers positioned themselves strategically, usually protected by wooden stakes or natural terrain, awaiting the enemy's advance. Yet, despite the defenses, they were exposed to counterattacks, cavalry charges, and relentless assaults. The moments leading to battle were tense and filled with anxiety. Archers knew their skills could decide the outcome, but the pressure was enormous. A single mistake or misfired arrow could spell disaster. The first volley of arrows was critical, often determining the battle's momentum and psychological impact on the enemy. Once engaged, archers fired continuously, their muscles burning and fingers bleeding from repetitive drawing and releasing. Injuries from snapped bowstrings or enemy projectiles were common. The noise was deafening. Cries of the wounded, shouts of commanders, clanging armor, and whistling arrows created a terrifying cacophony. Yet, despite the chaos, archers maintained remarkable discipline. Their rigorous training ensured they could rapidly and accurately fire arrow after arrow, maintaining deadly effectiveness even under immense pressure. Archers often stood the ground as knights charged directly toward them, displaying remarkable courage and resolve, aware that fleeing meant certain defeat. The psychological toll was profound. Witnessing friends and comrades injured or killed left lasting emotional scars. The brutal reality of medieval combat, mangled bodies, horrific wounds, and the constant threat of death haunted many long after the battles ended. Still, there were rewards. Victorious archers shared in plunder and spoils, gaining wealth and valuable possessions often beyond the normal means. These rewards could significantly improve their families' lives back home, offering a powerful incentive despite the tremendous risks. The aftermath of battle brought a different kind of hardship. Archers had to tend to the wounded and bury the dead comrades. They also faced the lingering threat of disease from unsanitary battlefield conditions and contaminated water sources. Campaigns often resulted in more deaths from illness than from actual combat. Returning home, archers brought back not just material rewards, but emotional scars. Reintegrating into civilian life could be difficult. Some suffered from nightmares and trauma, others from physical injuries limiting their ability to resume normal work. Their communities celebrated their victories but often failed to understand their suffering. These experiences, both glorious and traumatic, defined the English archer's life. Their bravery and sacrifices shaped history, yet the true human cost behind their victories often remained hidden from view. To fully understand their legacy, we must look beyond the battles, to how these men were remembered, celebrated, and mythologized in history and culture. The legacy of the English archer stretches far beyond their battlefield victories, resonating through history, culture, and popular imagination. Yet, the way archers have been remembered often differs greatly from the true lived experiences. In the immediate aftermath of their victories, archers enjoyed significant acclaim and social prestige. Their critical role in battles like Agincourt elevated their status within society, earning them respect and sometimes tangible rewards like pensions, land, or special privileges. Communities revered these men as local heroes, celebrating their bravery and skill in songs, poems, and local folklore. However, as time passed, the genuine stories began blending with legend. Figures like Robin Hood emerged, an iconic outlaw archer whose mythical adventures captured the public imagination. Although fictional, Robin Hood symbolized the idealized traits of archers: bravery, skill, and standing up against injustice. His popularity reflects how deeply archery and archers resonated within English culture. But the romanticized legends overshadowed the gritty realities of real archers' lives. The daily hardships, psychological scars, and complex personal stories often faded from historical narratives, replaced by simplified images of heroic figures effortlessly triumphing over powerful adversaries. Despite this simplification, the cultural legacy persisted powerfully. Archery became symbolic of English national identity, representing freedom, independence, and resilience. Over generations, longbowmen came to embody qualities admired by society: discipline, determination, and humility. Today, the English archer's legacy lives on through historical reenactments, sports, and popular media. Archery continues to be practiced worldwide, celebrated for its heritage and skill. Historical reenactors meticulously reconstruct the experiences and equipment of medieval archers, preserving and sharing their authentic stories. Films, literature, and games regularly revisit their legendary status, keeping their memory vibrant. Historians and enthusiasts continue uncovering the deeper truths behind these men, revealing how ordinary individuals lived extraordinary lives under challenging circumstances. These insights restore depth and humanity to their legacy, reminding us that history is shaped not by legends but by real people making difficult choices amid difficult times. Ultimately, the true legacy of the English archer lies not just in their battlefield successes but in their enduring symbol of resilience, discipline, and ordinary heroism. They remind us that history isn't solely shaped by kings or generals, but by everyday people whose quiet courage and determination profoundly impact the course of history. Their story remains powerful because it represents the universal truth that ordinary people can do extraordinary things, creating a legacy that inspires us even today. The story of the English archer reveals something profound about history itself. Behind every legend stands an ordinary person whose life is complex, challenging, and deeply human. Archers shaped medieval warfare and influenced generations, but their true power lay not in their bows, but in their extraordinary resilience, discipline, and quiet courage. These men endured immense hardships, made sacrifices few today could imagine, and yet they transformed their ordinary lives into something legendary. Understanding their lives beyond the battlefield brings history to life, reminding us that real heroes are often hidden behind the grand stories we tell. The legacy they left behind isn't just about military victories, it's about the timeless values of determination, community, and ordinary heroism that still inspire us today. But the story doesn't end here. The next chapter takes us to one of the darkest and most brutal sieges of medieval history, the Siege of Rouen. What challenges did archers and soldiers face during England's darkest siege? What untold horrors awaited them behind Rouen's walls? Join us in the next episode to uncover the gripping story behind the siege that changed history. Subscribe and like this video. Part 7T, The Siege of Rouen, coming soon. This is History Replay, this day.